In the last section, we successfully got a user signed up. So we really just have two more steps. The first step is handling the case in which a user fails to sign up when they enter a username that's already in use, in which case we should show an error to the user. And the second case, which is in the case that they succeed, we should redirect them to somewhere else inside of our app. So, like a protected route or a protected view, something to say, hey, you successfully signed in, now here's the content you were getting for. So we'll handle the first case first, the error case. We've already done some legwork in setting up an error message handler in here with our error message text tag in here. So we'll go ahead and reuse that text tag with the error message state by taking the error case in our callback for the signup. Rather than console logging the content of the error, we'll go ahead and set our state with the contents of the error message, which in this case will be error.message, just the same as when we console logged it earlier. Okay, so let's go ahead and save this. I'm going to refresh. We'll go over to our sign up, and then I'm going to reuse an existing username. And we see username tester already taken. Cool. So ideal world, we would probably capitalize that U for username and maybe remove tester since the user probably knows the username they put in there, but we'll let it be for now. Okay, so now step 2, the case in which a user successfully logs in. So specifically the function that gets ran right here. So remember back to when we spoke about navigation and the navigator component in general. Up to this point, we've been using the navigator to push and pop views. And really when we push and pop views, we want to be manipulating views kind of like in the same context. They're views or components that are closely related together. So when we're working with our sign in and sign up component, those are both components that are really in the same context, the same feature. And so it makes sense that we want to be able to quickly navigate between those by using the push and pop. When a user signs in successfully, we no longer really want them to be in the context of authentication. They're not really authenticating anymore, and it really doesn't serve us any good use to be able to push or pop back to the sign in and sign up components. So this is an example of when we would use the navigator method immediately reset route stack. Remember, the purpose of this method is to replace all of the views in the current stack and replace it with an entirely new stack or a new single view if we want. Again, the purpose of using this is that we really want to change context of the app. We don't want to show the authentication views anymore. We want to show the protected views, or the views that you should only be able to see when you sign in. So let's go ahead and make a new route that the user can visit once they are signed in or signed up. Well, really signed in. So let's go ahead and make that new route now. Inside of my components folder, I'm going to make a new folder, and I'm going to, we're going to arbitrarily call this feature here tweets. And so we'll pretend that we're, maybe making Twitter clone or what have you. Inside of that new folder, tweets, I'm going to make tweets.js. So you can kind of imagine this component right here as not necessarily being tweets, but it might be like application main or user signed in main, or whatever view we really want to navigate to once the user successfully authenticates with our application. So it'll be a component just like any other component that we make in general. So we'll start off with the usual boilerplate in here, which is probably getting pretty familiar by this point. And we'll pull off view, style sheet, and text. And then we'll define our component. And we'll start off with our render function. Right now we'll just return a view, and we'll give it a style of styles.container. And we'll also give it some text. And for right now we'll just say welcome back, which kind of implies, hey, you just successfully signed in or signed up. welcome back into the application. Let's go ahead and do our style sheet here as well. Var styles, stylesheet.create, and we'll just do our container style, and we'll want everything to be centered. So we'll do justify content center, align items center. Cool. So this is looking pretty good. Now don't forget that any view that we want to be able to navigate to needs to be registered with our navigator component. In other words, we got to add it to our routes object inside of main.js. So we'll go into main.js, and at the top we'll go ahead and require this new tweets component. And we're going to go into components, into tweets, and then it was tweets.js. So we'll go components, tweets, and then tweets. And then finally, we'll add this on here as tweets. So our route name, the string will be tweets, and that will make reference to the component tweets. Okay, so now a little bit more back on topic. We just created our tweets component and registered it with our navigator. Now we need to actually, in the case that the user successfully signs up, we need to actually navigate them over there. So again, unlike the usual push and pop that we've done up to this point, this is a case in which we're completely changing the context. So we're going to, instead of using push and pop, we'll say this.props.navigator, and then we will say immediately reset route stack, capital S stack. So when we call immediately reset route stack, this is giving us the opportunity to not only replace all the existing components with a single one, but we also had the opportunity to replace it with multiple views. So we can have multiple different views in here that we pass to this method, which may imply that it's going to be an array. So we're going to pass an array of views in here, an array of objects or routes. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for, routes. In this case, we only want to really navigate to a single route though, just tweets. So we'll say, here's an array with a single route whose name is tweets. So if we took this line kind of literally right here, we're kind of saying, hey, for all the views that are currently on our route stack, just go ahead and toss them in the trash, and instead just take me to the route named tweets. Okay, so let's go ahead and save this and refresh. Let's give it a little spin. So I will now do, let's try tester 12. I'm sure I haven't used that yet. So I'm going to sign up here with a legitimate username that should authenticate me and take me to the tweets route. So let's go ahead and sign up. And my view changes and it says welcome back. Awesome. So basically, we just successfully signed up a user, and when they successfully signed up, we navigated them to a protected route in our application. Okay, so this is looking good. Now, if you remember, we left one other thing slightly unfinished on the same vein here, and that is the sign-up component, the sign-in component. So when a user signs in, we need to make sure that they are successfully navigated to the tweets route as well. And as we left it, we never quite finished that one up. We're right here, we're inside of signin.js right here, and you'll see that we are just continuing to console log the user. So I'm going to go back over to signup.js, and we're going to do the exact same thing as we did before. We want to immediately replace all of the current views in the stack because we're doing a total context switch here. So I'm going to copy paste that in here, replace the console log. Looks good. Let's refresh. And at our sign in, let's use our tester account. And so I'm going to sign in, and I'm going to expect this to take me to the tweets component as well. There we go. Awesome. This is looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and continue in the next section.